Hi everyone, and welcome to this Stage 2 betting preview for Good for the Game. Well, I did mention that cycling could be a dangerous sport to bet on, and my word, it certainly was yesterday. What a stage we had to open the 2020 Tour de France. Weather playing a role. Unfortunately, the descents became so dangerous that the peloton eventually decided to neutralize them. But that wasn't before we'd seen quite a few crashes, and in fact, we even saw crashes on the neutralized descent. That's how dangerous conditions were. So certainly no blame at all to the riders, but I am just happy they raced the last 20 kilometers and we were treated to a great sprint finish. Let's have a look at the results of that. Alexander Kristoff, well, he came through and won strong. He wasn't spoken about much pre-race. He hasn't shown much leading into this tour, but he is the type of man who gets more competitive as the stage gets tougher. He really is a hard man, not the fastest a sprinter, neither is the man who finished behind him, Mats Pedersen, the world champion. Also a great ride from him. It was a real blanket finish at one point. Seasball from Sunweb looked to have it. And then one of the stage favourites, Sam Bennett, coming in a bit of a disappointing fourth. It was a tough day for Sam. He also had an accident. I actually backed him in running at even money over Caleb Ewan when I could see Ewan looked to be struggling off the back in one of the early climbs. Ewan then also had a crash. But I was quite alarmed when they neutralized the climb because all of a sudden, and the descent, because all of a sudden he was right back in the hunt. But he'd obviously had a tough day and he didn't really contend in the sprint. So I landed that match bet to ensure a very small profit because my other two small bets on the stage, Sagan to win and podium, didn't arrive. He had every chance, but he's definitely lost that zip he had a year or two ago. Whether he'll get it back or not is another question. He's still very strong, though. He did win the intermediate sprint from the peloton. Of course, the three breakaways had gone through before that. Viviani could be one to watch. Nizzolo, he was a bit unlucky at the end. Probably should have run fourth ahead of Sagan there, but he had to sit up at the end. But overall, he looked to also be battling a fair amount on the climbs as well. Right, that's the result of that. Let's move on to stage 2 because, my word, we've got an exciting stage ahead of us today. 2 categorized climbs, and then we've got a Cat 2 climb and another rise just before the end. This stage, if it was later on the tour, you would say there's definitely going to be GC action, but it's probably questionable whether the GC boys will attack each other on this stage. The one thing that is of interest to me, though, is that a guy like Primož Roglic, who I must say looked excellent yesterday, could potentially be carrying an injury. And I originally thought that Ineos might be looking to test him on this stage, ride the climbs hard, see if there's any sign of weakness, and if there is, to attack. Or alternatively, perhaps send an Ineos rider like a Carapaz or something off the front to see if they could force Jumbo to have to work hard and put Roglic under pressure. The problem is Ineos barely got to the finish yesterday. Their riders were all over the place on the ground. Sivakov lost 13 minutes. By the way, he's one of my match play bets against Sepkus, so that's not looking good for the long term. And it's difficult to see how this stage is going to be ridden. But there could potentially be some action because Thibaut Pinot is another one who fell late yesterday, and he looked pretty bashed up. And if he shows signs of weakness, there's a good chance the hammer will go down. But let's face it, a breakaway will go. It's just a question of how easy it's going to get away. I think today there'll be a big contest to get into the breakaway. We're going to get some fairly strong riders going away, particularly if we only get the break at the sort of 45-kilometer mark when we start the first Cat 1 climb. It is worth noting, though, that stage favourite, and we'll get into the betting now, Alaphilippe won't be given the sort of leeway he was given last year to get into a break. And the same can be said about the likes of Romain Bardet and Adam Yates. I mean, they've stated that they're here for stages, but at the end of the day, there's no ways the big boys are going to let them go off and gain a 6 or 7 minute advantage on a stage like this. So we're going to get breakaways of guys who are not overall contenders. And then it's really just going to come down to how do the big teams race it. If they race each other, well, the breakaway stands absolutely no chance. But if they ride a fairly neutral stage with eyes on the next 3 weeks, then the breakaway must have a chance of winning. I think what probably swings this race in favour of the GC men contending it is the fact that Alaphilippe will want to win the stage, and that means his team is going to have to work. Now, he can win the stage from a break, but I don't think he'll be allowed in the break. So the other way to win it is obviously to keep the break in check, and then for Alaphilippe to take advantage of his fairly quick sprinting and climbing skills on the other end, and to either win it from a small group, alternatively a breakaway and win it solo. So that's the way it could possibly go. If you ask me to pick, I would say that's probably the more likely route, but I also give the break a fairly strong chance of that. Quite frankly, this is a great Tour de France stage. Should be brilliant to watch. I think in running, match bets could be the way to make money there. So I haven't got too involved early on, as you'll see now. But let's go first to the outright betting update after yesterday. And I've gone to World Sports betting sites here. Primož Roglic 2-1, Bernal 28-10, Not a lot of change there. Tom Dumoulin, he's gone 8-1. It looks like WSB have pushed a lot of their prices out, meaning now could be the time to get involved overall, because that looks pretty generous, 8-1 on Dumoulin. Pinot, they've pushed 12-1. I know that's gone out overnight, which is interesting. Carapaz, 16-1. And here's one that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Pogacar, who I was very impressed with yesterday, they had a ruling in the last 3 kilometers that the times wouldn't count. That didn't stop him going up there and effectively being right up towards the pointy end of the race in the final couple of 100 meters. So he's 18-1, and if you're not on him yet, I would suggest that he could be some value there. Julian Alaphilippe, 22-1. Come on, lads. Bookies are taking a chance on this one, I can tell you. Not just WSB, all of them. Alaphilippe has got no chance of winning this Tour de France. I said it last year, even when he was, and I was nearly paid for that. But last year was a very different tour, and I just don't give him any chance. 22-1 Alaphilippe, I wouldn't back it with your money, quite frankly. Quintana 25's Landers drifted a bit to 40. Interesting as well. I thought his team looked fairly alert yesterday. Buchmann 50 as well. There's some big prices here on the outrights, I've got to say. Lopez 66-1. Am I looking at the right betting here? I mean, this is these are some big prices. I don't know if WSB have just stretched it for a while, but if you are looking to get involved outright and you can get a biggish bet on, well, I tell you what, there are some nice prizes. I mean, Lopez for a podium definitely interests me at 11-1, as does Pogacar there at just over 3-1 for a podium. So interesting but that's the outright betting. If I was not already involved, I might add a little bit of 11-1 Lopez for a podium. I do like that. He did, of course, crash yesterday, and his team looked pretty foolish when they rode on the front on the neutralized descent, and their team leader went crashing. But reportedly, he is okay. Let's have a look then at the stage betting. I'm going on to Sunbet here. Julian Alaphilippe, 15-4. That's a fraction under 4-1 to win the stage. 19-20 for a top 3 finish. I can't have him at this price. The stage suits him. Everything about the stage suggests that he should have a chance, but difficult at this price. So much can go wrong. He hasn't been quite the rider he was since the COVID-19 break. And, if the break can win it, he doesn't have the strongest team. He doesn't have a bad team. He has a team that can probably keep the break in check today. But there's a lot that can go wrong with Alaphilippe. He's also not as fast as some of the other climber sprinters, although he is very good. So I would say that he has every chance of winning today, but I won't be putting my money down at odds of around 4-1. Wout van Aert, same thing. Will he be allowed to even go for the stage? Yesterday, it looked as though they were allowing him at one point. He did come down in a crash. But 7-1, so much has got to go right for this man to contend the finish. And I would say that as punters, we've got to be looking for value beyond the top 2 on the list. Higuita, he's the fastest of the climbers as far as sprinting goes. So if it does come down to a GC finish, he must have a strong chance. But even there, 14-1, well, that's pretty tight. Roglic, of course, if it comes down to GC, he's always in with a chance, and he likes to stamp his authority early on in tours. Thomas de Gent, 18-1. Well, Thomas de Gent will be in the hunt for stage wins. I'm not convinced this one's perfect for him, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the break. He did tail in quite late yesterday, and he looked pretty grumpy, so I'm not too sure what frame of mind he's in. Tadej Pogacar, I saw he was 33-1 at World Sports Betting. You'll see I've included him in my staking plan. I was very impressed with him yesterday and quite happy with my long-term pick on him at this stage. Scanning further down, there's a number of riders who could be in breakaways, including South African Daryl Impey here, 33-1. Peter Sagan, stage looks too tough for him in current form at 40-1, and you'll see Matteo Trentin, the two of them in a match bet at 17-20 the pair. I am considering going for Trentin, but we'll talk about that later. I'm hoping that Trentin can get over the climbs today and add some jersey points. Tish Benu, the pick of Chris Sturdy from Goodforthegame. He's the King of the Mountains pick of Chris. Chris has actually gone for Olivier Nason, who I think is priced at. Let's have a look what Nison's priced at. I'm still scanning. I probably missed him. Let's have a look. Still scanning. I suppose I should just search. There we go. 150-1. So Chris has gone for Nason, and that's there's a man. Look, he might battle over the climbs a bit, but if he gets into the breakaway, he must have a chance. Certainly, if the break succeeds. And he finished 11th yesterday up there with the sprinters. So that was pretty good. I'm definitely going to have a nibble. It won't be on my staking plan, but I didn't see that. I'm definitely going to be taking a little bit of 150-1 on him there at Sunbet. So that's it then. Let's move on to my bets for the stage. And you'll see here, I'm not really getting carried away with bets. I'm going small bets on Pogacar, 33-1 WSB, Trentine, let's hope he can get into the break. And Benuth, same thing would apply. You'd want the break to stick there. And they're both 50-1. I will post any match bets in the Good for the Game forum, and there is a link to the forum down below. And there's also a link to our newsletter. So do go down, and also remember to hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so to the show. I am going to also throw in definitely some money on our man and Nathan there. So go and look on the Good for the Game forum for my final bets. Thanks, everyone. We should be in for a cracking stage. Perhaps not one to get that involved with from a betting angle, but conditions should be good, and that's very important. We should get it raced hard, and really looking forward to this one. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you on the forum. And I do have a WhatsApp group as well for those really interested in the tour betting, particularly the in-running options. Just make contact with me via email, brent@goodforthegame.co.za, and I'll add you to that if you would like. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.